can't believe we're here. So, can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Cool. This is our, we kill time while these two statements are up on the board. One is a safe harbor statement about forward-looking statements, and the other is a COVID impact statement about global travel limitations and things like that. So we just have to display this because this will be put onto the web afterwards. So. Can everybody hear me if I talk like this? Yeah. Wyatt, are we okay on camera if I talk like this?
Perfect.
Awesome. We can edit this whole part out.
Ryan, talk about the empty seats so they know it's because of COVID.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Welcome. First off, I just want to thank everyone on a personal level. You know, I never script these things, and I'm not going to start now. So I wanted to thank everybody in the room. Everybody here is a face that I know or have a backstory with, or that I'm meeting for the first time, but that I have seen online, supporting Hubble in our efforts to build something really special. So I wanted to, on just a personal level in this sort of intimate environment, thank everybody for helping us on our path. You know, Michelle, Karen, Jeff. You know, Jeff was teaching at the university. He's like, I'm quitting and I'm coming to work for Hubble. And you know, Michelle, I'm quitting my job. You know, let's go study, you know, the market, the global markets, and see where we can package these things up so that they make sense for the regions that we're going into, both domestically and abroad. You know, David, Calvin, one of the first cryptocurrency conferences, you know, if not the first in Utah, where we're bumping into each other, and you couldn't give away free pizza for people to come and listen about Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that stuff, and now it's a line out the door. So it's really, really fun to kind of think through the stories that sit behind Hubble, even though this is just even, you know, our 9th or 10th month as a public company since we kicked off this whole SPAC attack thing. So thank you all for coming along the journey, and you know, we would be here for several hours if I was to tell stories about everybody individually in this room, and to me that's the most meaningful part of what we're building at Hubble is sort of the room for everyone in the tent at Hubble, and I think that's a really special thing about our brand. You know, we live in a really divisive environment in our country, and so it's really neat to see people from across a variety of, you know, just backdrops, backgrounds, getting together at Hubble, even if they have philosophical differences on certain things. So that means a lot to me, and that'll never change about Hubble. So what is Hubble, and why was it created? So, you know, I was saying in the car last night, I sort of trained for 20 years for this moment, for this ascent. You know, in my 20s, I'm 43 now. In my 20s, I was working in Silicon Valley, getting dropped in by an agency into, you know, AT&T or Cisco or whomever to go and solve problems and help them push product out the door, define strategies, write white papers, etc. In my 30s, I was hired by Epson to, you know, help across their product lines to define product, push product out, help market it across channels. So it was very valuable training for me to learn how to take product from unnamed concept fully to completion into both domestic and global markets. So that was very meaningful training for me, and I'm very thankful for everybody who helped me along the way on those 2 decades. So I kind of sat out .com as an entrepreneur, and I sat out cloud as an entrepreneur. And when blockchain came along, I became not only obsessed with it as a technology, but I also knew that I wanted to be one of the people to help shape how it gets packaged into the global markets. And that's why Hubble was created. So how are we structured? We have a very similar business model to Alipay, Alibaba Marketplace, and Ant Financial. So if you look at a construct like that, Alipay offered these high APY rates to customers to get them to move their balances either out of cash in the mattress or out of banks into the Alipay framework so that they can use, send, and spend monies inside a custodial wallet. They also have a marketplace that allow people to exchange goods between one another in a peer-to-peer format on a platform. And then lastly, they have over 7,000 financial partners that sit inside that platform and get plugged into customers to see if they might be of value as referral partners into the product line. So that's kind of the platform business model that we studied and that we saw work in in the Asian markets in China and primarily, and we thought, that's something that's working on a structural level. However, let's level it up into blockchain as a formative technology. So when we got started on Hubble, blockchain still is a very obtuse, sort of fragmented marketplace. And our goal was to, in the same way that the FANG stocks packaged up .com or cloud, package this thing up into really manageable bits for the customer using a proven business model that we studied with Alipay, Ant Financial, and Alibaba Marketplace. We believe everything in our platform will ultimately end up being tokenized, so you can send, spend, pay, and peg monies in a much cheaper and more synthetic way with tokenization. You can perform listings between peers, between people, without brokerages or bureaucracy layers that we think have novel applications inside ticketing, NFTs, and real estate. And then you have these sort of investment products that will ultimately, both for security reasons and for purposes of trade, we think need to move into a tokenized format from file cabinets to files. So that's what we're building at Hubble. It's a very simple story with a lot of complexity behind it. And we intend to fully perform this thesis in a way where the customer can enjoy it in a couple of clicks. So right now we'll come out in sort of these silos, and then our architects internally on the tech team, Javier, others will think through, okay, how do we take these sort of siloed pieces and perform a really synthetic environment for the customer. So what's our product roadmap? Product roadmap, pay, marketplace, financial. I'm excited today to tell you all that you will be receiving a beta version of our original thesis of buy crypto, earn interest, use and send stablecoins. We think that stablecoins have a ton of meaningful value over coming decades as a way of protecting people in currency unstable zones, fluctuation zones of currency, where stablecoins may be a more intelligent means of sending, receiving, and paying money to protect the fluctuation of your balances in the wallet. Some of these products will also enjoy an APY on top of them. We're monitoring that closely from a regulatory standpoint, so we're doing that right now through referral partners to protect ourselves. But we think that those have value as well, and that we can provide that as a service as regulatory clarity in the United States improves. Our thesis also includes merchant payments. We've talked a lot about this, both on business and the tech side, where the idea is to create a perpetual ecosystem where the customer isn't needing to off-ramp into Samoan Tala or some kind of other fiat currency that is a paper bill that's a proxy for exchange with a merchant in their environment. So the idea being, if you're in Utah, you're sending money to Tonga, we'd like the customer to be able to just keep that on their phone so that there's not breakage, prohibitive exchange fees by local banking layers. The ability to spend that stable coin in a merchant environment, we think is a critical utility. It will take time for us to drive the market north in that environment, but it's one we intend to serve, and we wanted to be one of the first through the door on building these first three sort of pillars to the pay product. And merchant payments will ultimately tie into that over time. That's a very simple sort of QR code that sits on top of the merchant counter where the customer who's received an inbound remittance is then able to pay for a good without having to perform that rote exchange of a paper bill that they then hand back to the same person that's cashing out their remittance. It's quite a friction-filled process that we think we can change over time. It will not happen overnight, but it's a thesis, and we believe it's going to be the one that wins out long term. Also, I want to be measured about my comments about fiat peer-to-peer. We do still intend to roll out a fiat peer-to-peer grid. Like, we don't think fiat currency is going away. We don't want people having to use Bitcoin in a transaction environment in places where currency loads have fluctuated or declined horribly for people, just because it's not the most intelligent product for transaction layer stuff. We think stablecoins have lower cost, higher levels of fluidity and lower cost on the consumer. You wouldn't go buy a coffee with a bar of gold at 7-Eleven, and in terms of fees and processing times, that's often what happens with Bitcoin. But it's just what folks have to use in environments where currencies have been overprinted, oversupplied, or hit inflation concerns. So That's something where we think stable coins and the strong backbone of the US dollar can be proliferated in a way that's to mutual benefit for everybody. So I want to be thoughtful about that in terms of saying, yeah, we are going to roll out a fiat peer-to-peer environment. We do have a very good relationship with a bank here in Tennessee that we will be working with in a custodial framework so that we can operate out of the United States and then plug into broader money grid partners that are sending money at low rates and high velocity around the world. So that's part of our thesis. It will come. We won't stop until we get there. But the fiat peer-to-peer piece is something that will take time. But the blockchain piece, as of today, will be provided to you all in beta. We look forward to your feedback on that so we can refine the product and then roll it out at scale globally. In terms of the marketplace, we think NFTs and tickets become the same exact modality over time. Even if a customer gets a hard ticket, we like that hard ticket to have a QR code on the back that they can scan and get an immersive commemorative digital ticket in the form of an NFT. So that's music, sound, video. We think the Gen Z millennial customer isn't going to want to go to a concert, movies, sport, without coming home with something on their phone that was like, okay, I was at that game, I was at that movie, and here's my theatrical experience that goes with that as a ticket rather than some paper ticket that you put in the recycle bin. So very exciting times, fits very well with some of our wholly owned subsidiaries that we have acquired. And then real estate. Real estate is something that we think will be tokenized. It already is being tokenized. It will be tokenized over time in a big way, and we are looking at both rolling that out in a novel state inside Hubble, as well as looking towards targeted acquisitions in tokenized real estate, particularly in emerging markets. Lastly, our financial products, our ETFs, active, thematic, and index products that are very thoughtfully architected on top of digital exchanges. Digital exchanges should be viewed as the NYSE or the NASDAQ of digital assets, and our software as a service, our bots sit on top of that and allow customers to get really thoughtful portfolio balance exposure to those markets. We would like to move these custodial over time. Calvin's going to have to take a few of his tests again. That's okay. So we do want to try to find some kind of broker-dealer framework, some kind of legacy trust that we can acquire so that customers do not have to go through the many layers of friction that they do right now to get access to these product lines. So that's what we're working on. The more we can get it down into 1 or 2 clicks, that's great. We recently rolled out the ticketing platform last week. Couldn't be more proud of that product line as yet. It's 4 clicks from search to checkout. So that's really going great, and I think it's indicative of how we want to build a platform over time to make it seamless for you to find what you need in the discovery layer of Hubble and get to checkout. So what is the market saying about our thesis? They're saying, go and build it, dude. Get it done. So this thing jumped up on us pretty quick. I gotta say, we moved from tooling around in the garage on blockchain to a most followed blockchain brand in the world pretty quickly. So we appreciate the nod that the market is giving us about going and doing this. And we'll get plenty of paid bashers and short seller hit reports that like to throw out the FUD and get their margin to the short side and so on. And you just have to keep a thick skin and keep moving on that. So our thesis on that has always been, when they go low, we go high. Let's just keep moving. So it's exciting to see the market say, go and build this, and we will. I'll walk you now through the divisions, kind of some of the internal stuff that we go through on a daily basis, starting first with Hubble Pay. We think blockchain needs a consumer platform, very synthetic consumer platform that will allow you to do some very basic utilities on blockchain. Right now, blockchain is largely a buy-sell trading vehicle. You have some buying, you have selling, you have derivatives. But we think that blockchain can take a step up here into the packaging side and be able to allow people to send money, spend money, pay money in ways that are just totally novel and exciting and beneficial for the customer, both here and outbound overseas. So today, all of you in the room will be getting a beta version of the product that you saw demonstrated in our Borderless and Baja video, which is stable coins being sent, paying and paying with stable coins from one person to another in the peer-to-peer framework. So you'll get a beta test of that. We invite you to join the program, beat it up as much as possible. Tell us what we did wrong, what we did right. This is a product we want to really do well. It involves people's money, so we need to be thoughtful, both in terms of the quality of the tech, the security of the tech, and then lastly, the regulatory framework that we sit this in. So the key features of this will be buy crypto, earn interest, which will be done through third-party referral partners, USD stablecoins that can be used for, again, protecting yourself against currency fluctuation or sending those between people. It's really, this is an API for the US dollar, and I think it's intelligent for our country, both from a patriotic standpoint and a globalist standpoint, to use stablecoins as a methodology for sending money between people and protecting yourself from currency fluctuation. I think it's a really thoughtful way for us to help proliferate the dollar while helping people in markets where currencies are fluctuating, and our own currency may fluctuate over time. So it's something that I really think we need to look at and help people get easy access to versus just using Bitcoin, which also goes up and down and has some, doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily architected for peer-to-peer exchange as much as stablecoins are. So we're hopeful there, and we study regulatory. The cool part about Hubble is everything we are doing, because we are so early and we are helping define Web3 and blockchain and how it gets packaged. Every single day I wake up and I look at CNBC or Fox and I see some headline that alters the way I present our slides. So it's neat to be that early. We're very mindful and thoughtful of regulatory. I've always said the two bogeys that can kill us would be running out of money or running afoul of regulatory, and we're not going to do either. So this is the key feature set that you'll get today. And again, we look forward to your negative feedback as much as your positive feedback. We learned a little bit from our merchant release that we want to throttle these things with care. So Holly and team will be very thoughtfully rolling this out. I want to thank Adrian, Cynthia, others for the design language that went around this as well. Very proud of the quality of the product line. So you see some things in there, news about blockchain, your wallet balance, the ability to buy crypto. We don't love our spreads on the buy crypto right now, so I wouldn't say that's our key Trojan horse. But I would say that the stablecoin piece, parking and pegging and stablecoins and using and sending them is a big part of our thesis. So we would steer you towards that behavior as yet, and it also fits with our expansion thesis into emerging markets. In terms of the tech team, this is kind of how it shakes out. You can really feel the tech team leveling up over the last month. Frack, Jesse, John, others joining us that have just been terrific. We have very good support agencies as well. I want to thank Kelton Agency. They've done a good job. They help build Flipkart, Walmart, Paytm in India, rapidly scaling peer-to-peer product lines. So we feel well circulated in terms of both our agencies that we can call on and then our internal tech teams that are doing a good job of daily updates. In terms of your data, we'll be very thoughtful about where and how we store that. Most of it will be off-site or offline or through partners so that we don't have any ingress in this regard, but we're also going to be using it to refine your experience on Hubble in a way that's more seamless, more meaningful, and allows you a more synthetic experience at Hubble over time. In terms of our patent filings, we'll keep you updated there. On the left side, on your right side is the comprehensive buying, selling, trading, tracking, verification, validation, tokenization, and financial services using blockchain. That's a big fancy word for everything in the world is going to get tokenized, and we want it to happen at Hubble and Hubble Financial. And then the second one, which has drops of my blood on it along with others, is a 50-page something document about a system and method, an instant settlement network that we propose on blockchain. As an alternative to the current SWIFT system. You have a lot of local and regional banks, no offense, that sit on top as layers on top of places like island chains, for example, in the Caribbean or Oceania. And they charge these very prohibitive, friction-filled amounts of fees to onboard and offboard. It's part of why we like that direct stablecoin thesis. But we also propose that blockchain can provide novel ways to disrupt the wire system that has aged out quite a bit here over time. So we'll keep you posted on what we hear there. And I think those have been filed globally. I'll correct that if that's not correct. In terms of Hubble Financial, again, once we get the customer's balance into Hubble, we would like for them to be able to get exposure to the top performing asset class of the decade, which is digital assets. So we looked back historically, we were big students of history, and we said, okay, what did mutual funds do right and wrong? What did ETFs do right and wrong to package up new markets? It's amazing to me that ETFs only sort of hit their stride in the 90s. You know, these products feel like they've been around forever, but they're a really valuable construct, and that's what you see Calvin and Jacob and Nick and team, all of whom are awesome, building out these products on top of a net new trading market. And some of that's index, which is very simple. I'm going to buy a block 5. Some of it's active, very active strategies where if you go into the research section of Hubble Financial, you see when Calvin has come in and struck and done his buys and sells and so on. And they've architected our algos and our bots to make, I think thoughtful decisions around how these markets move, which is totally different in multi-factor versus some of the more pedestrian markets that have seen a lot of conglomeration within the FANG layer and so on. So volatility is to be found in the blockchain markets, and we want to harness that for you while still giving you passive exposure if you want it to a long-form thesis. So what have we developed? We've developed these non-custodial, algorithmically driven software services. So that's a fancy term for a monthly subscription. We'd like to get it custodial over time. That will improve our margin loads, meaning that we move to an AUM, assets under management framework, that was custodial for us. Right now, these are totally non-custodial. I want to, for regulatory, deeply emphasize that these are non-custodial products. At the moment, at Hubble Financial, although over time we'd like to try to acquire a legacy trust or a broker-dealer to be able to house these for you. If we do that, what that will allow us to do is custodiate these assets a bit more and move to an assets under management framework where you're charging sort of an annual fee as well as rebalancing margins. So we wouldn't be prohibitive. We charge very fair rates for that. But right now it's just totally non-custodial, so we do it in a monthly subscription format. Things that Calvin and team have been up to on the quarter: improved rebalancing, real-time pricing, increasing the speeds, and refactoring the order process. So this is a quiet group. Nick and Jacob and those guys, Calvin, they just, we could do a meeting once a month and they've just got it all dialed in, so I really appreciate you guys and how easy you are to do business with and the level of thought and depth and care with which you build your products, and the passion that you have around blockchain is shared and fun to see, So I met Calvin years ago at this conference, and we didn't work together for years, but I just knew as soon as I met him that we had the same idea about trying to simply package a new human trading market in ways that were simple enough for people to go, yeah, I can put a little bit of my portfolio into that because why wouldn't I? So we like to improve Sharpe ratios on this and give people, sort of a calibrated exposure to what their taste levels are or what their strategies are across index, thematic, and active product. We've also improved our product detail pages as well as our research and tracking. So you have these fun little zones where Calvin and his team have architected it so that you're doing some active buying and selling against the strategy that you like. So, this one's RSI momentum, for example. There's all these, initially when blockchain came out, digital asset trading markets came out, the index that beat the Block 30 index to market was a market cap only index, which is, very respectfully to the folks who did it, not a sophisticated way of tracking markets, especially markets that are as dynamic as digital assets. So we came out with multi-factor indexes, which it's a fancy term for it includes a lot of different inputs about what makes a digital asset go up or down. So that was very much a passion project, and it's very exciting for me to see real consumers using these strategies in real time in the market. And I think, over time, history will be our friend on that. NFT Gallery, Jenny, great work, and team. Very proud of this product line. NFTs are, at the 1 yard line in terms of the 99-yard drive that they have to go in football. NFTs are going to touch almost every category of intellectual property, licensing, cataloging that there is, whether that's film or books or photography, mixed media, novel creative products, tethering it to physical artifacts or asset-backed tokenization. NFTs are literally just getting started, so I'm so excited that we have one of the most robust NFT galleries out there. We're going to be working with athletes, artists, designers, we already are, in ways that will press the envelope about how NFTs are consumed. We think NFTs move from, I was the first to do this, I dropped that, to evergreen collections. Thank you, Ernie. Good time. And NFT drops will move to more evergreen collections and content channels. That's really where we're taking this thing. So I had a meeting with an artist who has a gallery here in Nashville and on the West Coast as well 2 nights ago. And he does stuff for very notable athletes and celebs and so on. And we really think at Hubble we can marry, here's this sort of fully digital artifact, which is a totally consumable medium for Gen Z and millennials. They don't have a propensity to need the physical artifact on their wall. Then you have sort of the upper mid-market collector layer, tends to be 45 plus, holds on to something at a minimum of 10 years, that wants a physical artifact to go with it. So Hubble will be marrying these folks in the middle, and doing some really cool stuff there as well as the ticketing business. So we will tokenize digital assets. Our gallery offers you the ability to buy, list, and trade NFTs. We have the Priceline model going where you can cross-list right now to OpenSea. I think we migrate over time to a fully novel SDK that will help clients white label this, with Hubble just quietly powering it in the background. That may be something we do. It's certainly a discussion we're having. Discovering new artists, promoting new artists, tethering them to athletes or creators that they may want to do collections for. We have the ability to purchase with both crypto and USD, which is great. Folks can do their debit card here. And then a really cool feature of lifetime smart contracts where you can actually set the royalties that recur on the secondary markets for your pieces. So really, really neat feature there that we built into this gallery. We integrate our subsidiaries. I tell Doug, I pinch myself on a weekly basis when we're on calls pitching clients about NFTs. I pinch myself that we are working with Monster LA as one of our subsidiaries. Harry Potter has touched every element of the Transformers, Mission Impossible, Marvel. He's just done amazing work with his team. We've really gotten to know his team a bit more. We shared In-N-Out Burger the other day. That was kind of fun. And it's just neat. It's a really cool thing. And so, like I said, we are on the 1 yard line with NFTs. It's going to define every IP catalog that exists in the world. And we intend to help people have that white glove creative service about really thinking through how they package NFTs and move them forward over time in the consumer wallet and the consumer marketplace at home. So here's just some of the client list of who Monster has and is currently working with or has worked with. Best of breed. These are folks that are entrusting Doug and his team to package up that final mile, right? You spend tens of thousands of hours filming something, then it gets down to an hour and a half as a movie or a work product on Netflix. If you don't package that down into a wonderful intro that gets the consumer to start watching the series, or a trailer, or a social media teaser, then you don't get people through the door or turning it on their streaming devices or attending the movie theater. So it's just one of the most important parts of the theatrical business, and we look forward to packaging their creative across our suite of IP that we are both acquiring and proposing over time. Hubble tickets. We think every ticket becomes an NFT. Yeah, big time. Yeah. Hubble tickets, and I love the response because it's been such a relief. That platform is doing so great. People are responding, saying, I saved 10%, 15% versus the other 2 or 3 major incumbent players. So neat to see that. This is how we think the ticketing market sets up. is you have white label providers. So that's, I have a food and wine festival. I need a technology that nobody can see or feel. It's just powered by Hubble tickets right there in the lower right. I want to be able to do VVIP experiences at a film and wine festival, or I want to quietly be able to issue tickets to some kind of event. So that's white label. So we'll be looking at either building or acquiring something in the white label zone. Certainly has some of those capabilities already with Tickery. The secondary market, that's what we just rolled out last week. Can't emphasize how great that's going so far. We're just getting great feedback. Discovery layer was easy. Process to check out was 3 clicks. I found what I was looking for. Tickets were a good price. So we're so proud of that. That's going to serve us for decades. And then the primary markets, right? Going and acquiring businesses that have primary engagements with artists and properties, as they're called, that have very binary relationships with amphitheaters, stadiums, specific artists that want to issue tickets through Hubble Tickets or subsidiaries. So that's how the ticketing market kind of shakes out, and we will serve it across the platform. We'll also be integrating Monster a ton. Again, we do not want you to go to a sporting event, a college event, a concert, a festival, a theater, without coming home with a really beautiful hard ticket, QR code on the back, or getting the delivery into your wallet of this immersive, Shazam-like experience for ticketing that you can keep and trade and exchange in your memory with you over time on an immutable digital registry. The key features that we have right now on the platform that launched last week, we have access to about 4 billion of ticketing content. So it's eat what you kill on that. That's through an API syndication layer. And then we can set the margins on the backside of what we want to charge. Sometimes in secondary, when you combine the buy and sell side, it's almost 40% on the margin loads. So it's pretty easy to drive pretty good margin while still coming in as a disruptive competitor on pricing. So we're coming in with competitive price discounts, intentionally improving the experience while undercutting the price for the consumer. We have an authenticated inventory guarantee, so 100% customer satisfaction. And full customer support on the backside. We do think a lot of this behavior on the secondary moves to blockchain, so we'll be working on that over time as well. Robust seat maps and discovery. I know we missed a little bit on our map with the merchant application. We didn't want to do that again, so I welcome you to tour the map we have on Hubble Tickets. It's just phenomenal. Getting great feedback on it, pictures of what your seats look like, and so on. So really encourage you to go and check that out. So we wanted to get that right this time. We're a startup. We've been public for 9 months or something. So we're going to swing and miss on stuff all the time, and we're going to hit some home runs once in a while. So we thank you for bearing with us as we improve our existing product lines, and I think future releases will always show some improvement about what we didn't get right the time before. In terms of early sales over the last 7 days, 10 days, college football, pro football, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, sports are outpacing right now. I was talking to one of our angel investors, and he said, traditionally music is about 50-50 with sport, and I think what's going on right now is the music folks are just kind of hedging it a little bit due to the Delta surge. So I think that, I think this time next year when we're all sitting here, it's going to be 50-50 down this pie chart, music and sport. That's traditionally how it shakes out on the couple of major providers that we are disrupting. So I think it goes 50-50 music and sport, but right now sport is full throttle. You saw 100,000 people in the big house in Michigan last weekend. And so we're selling through sports, and I got to tell you, it's kind of neat to go into the backside of our dashboard and see people from all 50 states buying tickets to sporting events. It's a trip to see them doing this on Hubble Tickets, So it's really cool, and we thank you for giving us your business. In terms of accretive acquisitions, we're so proud of the Tickery acquisition as a subsidiary. I have a ton of respect for what Juan and Javier have built over there. It's not easy, right, to build and enter a market and have a startup and run it flawlessly. And as Ernie said with his sports arena, he goes, if the popcorn's not warm or the Diet Coke is is not cold, like no one cares. So it's a big deal. So I'm just kind of constantly amazed about how flawlessly Tickery runs its businesses. The amount of event loads that they process each month is pretty incredible, and we continue to drive revenues every month. So almost hitting that $2 million a month top line sales goal, which is just awesome. So revenues. Humble business. So a couple of business matters that I want to get through. CEO scorecard. So it starts with me, right? Quarterback. How am I doing so far in the first year? As you know, I decided to sell 0 shares this year, and that will continue to be true. I take a salary of $1, so I don't want to take a salary right now. I've retired, meaning I've burned a lot of shares. Post-split numbers are about 230 million, so very serious about not incurring dilution for our investors. So if I go out and say, hey, I want to buy this business because I think it's going to drive revenue and it's accretive to our market share, I don't want you guys to have to bear the burden of dilution. So I have taken it upon myself to retire enough shares where we can buy quite a few businesses with this and get quite a few brand ambassadors that I'm just paying for myself in terms of retiring shares. I didn't want to hear the dilution story FUD, so I just did that. Common shares that have been converted to preferred Bs, 79 million. So those preferred shares, which reflect about 45% of the share overhang, will be locked up through the end of 22. So every time you see the FUD on that one, just go ahead and divide it by 45% and minimum. Since taking over as CEO, our stock is up 265,000%. So that's the year 1 results so far on behalf of the shareholders. In calendar year to date, I think we're about 37.5%. So I want to say on a personal level, I know people will be watching this at home. It sucks when you buy a stock at the wrong price and it goes down. Like I have an ETF that I love. It's a leveraged ETF, DFEN. It's aerospace and defense. I love the category. I think it's a cool category. And it goes to 25 bucks. I buy it. It comes down to $21. I'm like, no, lost it by $4. I got my butt kicked on it. It happens. And so I want to say, yeah, we're up a lot on the year, and I feel good about what we've delivered so far for our shareholders. But I do know it's frustrating when you buy a stock and it ends up lower than where you bought it at. And so I just wanted to let you know, we're with you when that happens. I lose money too when the stock goes down on paper. So we will do everything we can to drive shareholder value. The company is not the stock. I have no control over the stock. The company is not the stock. So Jeff Bezos has a great quote. When Amazon went from $6 to $100 back down to $6 or thereabouts, he said, everything was going right with the company, but wrong with the stock. And so what I've been told by my advisors is just keep your head down, work the business, ignore the social channels, and just grind on it. You have a 10, 20-year view on this thing. Just stay about your business, do the right thing by the shareholders, and everything else will take care of itself on the field. So that's our philosophy. In terms of preferred Bs, I know there's some share overhang concern. I want to be clear, these preferred Bs don't just automatically show up on the market. There's a really strong process to this whole thing. When I was retiring shares from my brokerage account to the stock transfer agent, which is where your shares live if you're a preferred B holder, it takes a long time. I mean, Jeff and I were getting super annoyed there for a minute. It was taking months for some of my brokerage accounts of our shares that I had bought out of the common market because I wanted to bet even more on us and myself. And I was retiring those converting them to preferred Bs. It took a while. So I want to be clear, this isn't just something where these preferred Bs just automatically pop up one day on TD Ameritrade. It's just not how the open markets work. So our officers and directors that, again, quit their jobs, put their money on the wood, and built the business at a very high risk premium, along with some of our angel investors who are in this room, that I called when we were in a garage and labs and building this stuff out of our homes to help us on our way. Their risk premium on this thing is enormous compared to just buying the stock off the open market today. So I'm not only going to defend them, but also be clear that these are folks that are net long on Hubble. So I want to make sure that anybody who invested in us early can get their money back out, get whatever they think on top of that they deserve for the risk premium that they took, which is enormous, for quitting jobs, putting money on the wood when we were not public, when we were still an idea in a lab. They deserve that. So I want to be clear about that. I have no issue with that. But we are going to mine the store on this a bunch. I have some good contacts with investment banks in Wall Street that are going to come out, educate our employees and our founders and our founders, our directors, our shareholders, our preferred B holders about thoughtful delivery of getting their money back and these sorts of things in the market. So we're going to be very, very thoughtful about this. It's real. I want to just acknowledge it head on that we've got eyes on it. And I think I've also shown, in previous slides that I'm also not afraid to change share structures and burn shares as well at any time. So in terms of the breakdown of spending, Hubble Pay gets about 50% of what we spend internally. It's our most important product line on mobile. We think everything here in the platform moves to mobile over time. So that's our big bet. Very focused on rolling those merchant and peer and digital asset products out in the mobile format. So that's where we invest the most heavily. Our NFT and ticketing platforms get about 35%. 35% of every dollar that goes out, and then Hubble Financial runs really lean, which we appreciate because it's sort of that software eats the world model of once you build it, it's a profit center at that point. But we would like to maybe invest more there on both marketing. We've got to market those products. I've just been a little hesitant to shift the marketing in the fifth gear on Hubble Financial until we have the amount of time and effort that it takes and friction reduced to get into those products. So we remain on the hunt for properties that would allow us to custodiate those assets. Okay, how can we level up on our marketing going into next year? Recently we built the new Hubble headquarters. That has just been an absolute blast. All of you in this room are welcome to come and visit. Just, ping Glenn in advance and he will set it up for you to come by and see the thing. We've got the podcast room set up. The podcast is going to go out October 4th, I think. My first couple cuts at it, I did a few episodes with some NBA guys that you'll see here in a few slides. I did okay, it's all right. I thought the Gabby one went great before the Olympics. She's just a star, so I could just ask questions and get out of the way. So she and I wrote a click, so that was easy. But we'll improve on that over time, and I think it'll be an epic marketing vehicle through us across iHeartMedia's massive presence. So that'll be a great marketing vehicle for us, and we'll interview big celebrities, but then also folks who are novel in what they're doing. I want to interview Doug about his path through Hollywood over the last 20 years, and Ernie about operating arenas and stadiums. So we're going to have some fun with that one. And I'll get better at it, so bear with me. And it's fun to have this headquarters. The whole thing feels so grown up. We arrived here a few days ago, and Jenny kind of looks at me and she goes, "This is like real," It's like, okay. Yeah, it kind of is. So excitingly, we have some brand ambassadors that are coming online. These folks have great social media footprints. They have through lines into regional areas and markets that we want to penetrate. So you take, a Johnny Cueto, from the Caribbean, Latin and Caribbean corridor. You have already captained the All Blacks, winningest franchise in the world, leading the Haka a couple days ago. I mean, what a thrill to have the captain of the All Blacks representing us in Oceania. You literally can't ask for a better face in the world for us in Oceania. Surfers, you got Rob Machado, a local guy in San Diego, who's going to be doing some NFTs with us. Surfing is going to be a super dynamic category in NFTs. It's such a beautiful visual medium, and it's so epic what these guys pull off out there, as well as their photographers and their videographers who've traveled with them for 20 years around the world. It'll be very global, very dynamic, and Doug and Justin and the creative team are going to do some NFTs around this that have never been seen before in the world. We'll work with our Olympians like Gabby, and then we've signed some NBA guys that I'll reveal here as well. Marcus Smart, who's a grinder on the court. So So that's cool. So you saw at the Olympics this summer, we were very proud. We brought home a country's worth of medals here at Humble over the summer. So Humble Nation, I think, was in the top 20 of medals. so that's good. When we buy our utopian island, we'll be able to enter the Olympics. So that's cool. So we are thankful to the Olympians. We want to thank them. I'll be talking to them about their social media presence and how we roll that out. We saved a lot of powder with our ambassadors because I just wanted to get our product lines launched before we push things out. But want to both say congrats on your achievements at the Olympics, guys, and then secondly, we'll be in touch on rolling things out. And thank you for representing our country and yourselves with so much class, as well as Shelly Ann on behalf of the Jamaican team. Basketball, all right, starting up soon. Could not be more excited about this. So we've built out a very good relationship with an agency called Glushan Sports Management, which is one of the top boutique agencies in global basketball. So we thank them. We were able to kind of line item list the athletes that we wanted to sign in their stable, and these guys are just bomb. Drew Holiday, gold medalist. He goes from winning the NBA championship to 3 weeks later winning a gold medal. So, I mean, you're not going to find a better basketball player than that. Spencer Dinwiddie, he's the original blockchain guy in the NBA. So one of my first podcasts that we'll publish in October was with him. Again, another guy where I could just ask questions and get out of the way. He is more articulate about blockchain than I am, so he's just terrific. He was the first player in the history of the NBA to try to tokenize and fractionalize his contract with the fans. So just, I mean, an amazing guy and so smart. So very cool. Mark is smart, who embodies the humble spirit. Obviously very talented and a great scorer and a great defender, but also will dive for a loose ball and grind. So we love his heart. And Duncan Robinson, who has his own podcast, and he's another guy I did a podcast with. He was easy too. He gave me some pointers on how I can improve my podcast over time and things like that. So he and I had a great one-on-one and had some laughs and stuff. He's a really cool dude. So I hope you all can root for these guys. They're just fantastic ambassadors going into basketball season, and we will be using their platforms and their social channels to start marketing Humble now that we're launching our core product lines. We're going to start using our powder. Baseball, Nelson Cruz is still cranky. I just saw MLB.com doing a bunch of stuff with him. A week ago or two, I saw him all over Twitter on MLB.com because he's still crushing it. So we've got Nelly. He's again LATAM Caribbean corridor guy. He's just been terrific for us, Cueto and Rowdy. So we just have a great LATAM Caribbean footprint with these guys, and they're ballers as well. So we're excited that they are representing Humble on the baseball field. World Rugby, we are going to be announcing. I'll just use this as a format that we've signed Madison Ashby as well from Australia. So I'll just publicly say that. We haven't PR'd that yet, but I'll just say it right now so it's in the public domain. Artie, who is the captain of the greatest rugby franchise in the world, and Semi Radragra, who recently won the gold medal with Fiji, who is, again, an amazing athlete. And we look forward to building out our Oceania footprint as well as our domestic U.S. footprint. Rugby is, in certain journals, have denoted that rugby is likely the fastest growing sport in the United States as well. So we'll get a great domestic halo here as well. It's such a global game. So much of what we run into at Humble is we are, here in the United States, and sometimes the U.S. can be openly a little bit myopic about how big the world is out there. And I can tell you rugby is passing that ball around in every country in the world. Humble Nation podcast, we're going to roll this out on October 4th. Again, I will improve at this, although I was very proud of what we did with Gabby. It'll mostly be me asking people questions and getting out of the way, which is, I think, the best use of our time. But we'll use this to trumpet our ticketing products, our pay products, our brand ambassadors through their social channels. I think it's just a great organic way for us. I'd much rather do this than put up a bunch of freeway billboards or something like that. We still may do billboards, but this is just, I think, Humble has a unique story, and we have to educate the market on something that's brand new, like blockchain and Web3. So it's a great way to do that. I'm not going to force in Humble and blockchain and tickets and whatever or NFTs if it's not appropriate. So most of it will be us getting to know the people that represent Humble in the global market. And then lastly, here we are today, the Hubble Annual Shareholder event. We've got Dustin Lynch tonight, who has 7 #1 country hits. He's just a star, man. Put on his Pandora station anytime and you'll have a good time. And then the band Perry as well, who have terrific presence on some. They've had some #1 hits as well. So we're just stoked that they're participating with us, and I want to thank everybody who flew in from around the country and around the world to be here with us today. I hope to be here for decades doing this again. And the warmth that has surrounded this event so far is awesome and really cool. So in terms of the year ahead, finalizing, what do we need to do? We have to scale our core product lines, constantly improving our technology so that it's ready for scale, moving quickly, but also thoughtfully in terms of how we scale up our global product lines. We will begin the targeted global marketing through the exciting brand ambassadors that you just saw, driving top line revenues. We'll get into profit margins over time, but right now it's about creating top line revenues. And we think we can get there very quickly through hyper-targeted acquisitions in our key zones. So we are always daily on the hunt for targeted acquisitions, so more to come there. And lastly, I want to thank you all for coming to the first annual Hubble Shareholder Conference. Thanks a lot.